My goal today is to basically get you guys to see the red flags before it occurs, okay? What's some of the things that you can do to mitigate those calls, texts, and, staying on the phone with these people. Additionally, wanted to pass along that, let's see here. You're fine. I wanted to pass along that we're always available at the police department if, and I don't want to say it will happen, but when it does happen, we're always available to listen and to take your guys' reports and to do what we can in order to fix things. With that, I wanted to start out by, I want this to be informal. You guys all know me. I'll walk around, take some questions. We'll start out by taking questions first as to what you guys want out of today's session. Some of the things that I have to offer is plenty of information, but I want to hear from you guys as to what it is that you guys are looking for, or if anybody has any experiences already, becoming a victim. So we'll take a question.
Well, I get maybe 4 or 5 a day calls, and the first call was, "Do you have Medicare?" And I said, "Yes." Then they said, because I didn't know, but anyway, they said, "Do you have supplements A and B?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Have you heard about the cash back awards?" And that's when I hung the phone up. But I thought this was a scam because I didn't think they would ever call me. But since, I have been legally, I've had some calls out of state that were legitimate. So the first call I got from a different state, like Florida, I picked it up and I didn't say nothing right away. And they said, "Are you there?" And then I hung up. And then I blocked her phone, her number. Well, later on I get another call from Alabama. So they would continuously change the phone numbers, and I would block the number that they call, but they would be coming from a different, even Kingston, Gatlinburg, Knoxville, Maryville, different, probably 5 or 6 different states. So you block the call, and
Yep.
I don't know.
So I'm going to just, if you guys didn't hear the first part of the question, he basically is asking about the Medicare calls. Medicare is one of the scams that we do see. It's not too prevalent. We haven't worked many of those, but it's one of those that are on my list. Okay. The best thing that you can do and what everybody else can do when you get those types of calls, if you're not looking for any services, if you already are set up with services, if you have no interest in listening to what these people have to say, just hang up the phone immediately as soon as they start talking about it. And that goes for all the scams. If somebody has something to offer you, generally speaking, if you want it, you're going to go seek it. You're not going to take it from somebody that you don't know on the phone, first of all. That's one of the techniques that they use is basically they get you on the phone, and once they start asking you questions, they get you interested, and then they ask you for confirmation of your date of birth, confirmation of your social, confirmation of your personal identifying information. Now they have all that stuff. So with that, they can open up credit lines, they can open up credit cards, they can buy cars, they can do anything and everything in the book, okay? So recognizing the scam is one of the key flags that I wanted to talk about is basically they talk to you about something that you may be interested in. They are as savvy as anybody because the internet nowadays is used to basically find out everything and anything about somebody. If you guys remember the white pages, the physical book is now gone, but white pages is now whitepages.com. You can pay a fee to whitepages.com, and you have listings of people's names, addresses, even further, you can pay for other websites where you can get personal identifying information that's public record. And so with with the white pages and these other websites, they can get pretty much names of family members, addresses of family members. They can look up arrest records for people. Let's say you have a family member that's been arrested and in the past and has a criminal past. Well, they will see that and take advantage and say, you know, hey, your daughter, your son, your nephew, whatever, has a warrant out for his arrest. Okay, I need you to pay this amount of money if, you know, to clear the warrant. Otherwise, this person's going to remain in jail. They'll use that, or they'll use the same MO or tactic, but for you. They'll tell you that you have a warrant and that you have to go and pay it, or somebody will come and collect it, or they'll take the payment over the phone. Otherwise, they'll send the sheriff's department to arrest you. That's a very common one that's been seen around Loudoun County in the last year. But yeah, to answer your question is block the numbers is the first thing you can do. If you have an iPhone or Android, most of these phones nowadays, you can have a block feature or has a feature that you can set where if you don't recognize the number and it's not in your contacts, it'll automatically go to like a voicemail. And that voicemail basically says, state, you know, your name and the reason for the call, and the person will decide whether they want to pick up the call or not. I have that feature on my phone, and lo and behold, I have a bunch of missed calls that are all spam. It says spam recognized, and they don't leave a message or anything. They just hang up immediately. That's one way that you can get around it. The other way is just block it, or there's other companies on the internet that can basically wipe your name from data brokers. Data brokers, there's companies that are dedicated basically to mine your personal information and send it out to everybody. People pay them for that information. And so you can pay to have your name removed. And I'm not sure how much it costs, but there's companies online that do that, remove your name from data brokerage firms. I wanted to start out by explaining a little bit about getting your information out there in the dark web. Okay, the dark web, a lot of you are familiar with the internet, but the internet's the surface. Google and everything we search is right above the surface. It's like basically the tip of the iceberg, and literally it is. Google is just the tip of the iceberg. Most of the information that's on the internet is way down here, most of it. It's in the dark web, and that's where your CIAs, your FBIs, your clandestine stuff happens, black market stuff, drug sales, weapon sales, all the illegitimate stuff happens in the dark web, including selling of personal information. So people all over the world in countries where, you know, we don't have any extradition or, you know, dedicate themselves to scamming, like Vietnam is a big one, India, let's see, Nigeria, Russia, a lot of those countries, there's dedicated office buildings, per se, with hundreds of employees with looks like a legitimate office building where they have cubicles and people sitting in there with headsets, and they're all scammers. And they have departments. The phone call department, you know, passes it on to their buddy next door who's like, I already got somebody on the hook. It's time for you to do your magic and do the research, find everything it is about this person. And that's how they literally get information, and that's how they target individual people for needs that they may want. Okay, it's super sophisticated, and if these people would only dedicate their time to, you know, doing legitimate, you know, work or jobs, you know, but of course it's not as lucrative. Okay, it's billions of dollars a year just from America alone, not to mention Europe, not to mention South America, not to mention all these other countries where people fall prey just as much as we do. So with that, I wanted to talk to you about the different scams that are out there. I mean, this is just a few of the scams that you may see or hear about, or you know, friends of yours may have already experienced. The government impersonation scams. I'm personally working one right now. I'm not gonna say any names or anything, but I'm working one where a lady received a phone call from a person who identified themselves as an FDIC agent. They basically told her that the FDIC was investigating her bank branch, or not her branch, but personnel in that bank that were either money laundering or doing something with the money that they shouldn't be doing. And they said that they needed to get her cooperation because $60,000, it appeared that it was a fraudulent wire transfer from her account to another account. So that scared her. Okay, remember the flags that I told you? What people use first is, sense of urgency, like you need to do this now. That's one of the ones that they'll use first, is get you interested and motivated to doing, okay, yeah, I'll do whatever it is that you want me to do. Okay, and they're trained to talk to you in a way that'll get you either scared or motivated to move money around in your bank accounts. So with this lady, they motivated her to basically secure her account by doing test wire transfers. And she did a test wire transfer of $25,000. They gave her the bank account that she was supposed to transfer it to. And they said, it's okay, we're with the FDIC and we're working with the FBI. If you don't believe me, check your email now. So she checks her email and she receives an email with the official seal, FBI seal on it. If you're trained, and if you'd only take just a minute, a couple of seconds to review the email before you move forward with anything, generally there'll be grammar errors on the email. There'll be, if it's coming from an official governmental agency, it'll have instead of like .AOL or .gmail.com, it'll say FBI or CIA or IRS or a number of agencies. Well, she received an email from an AOL.com. It's basically, I have it right here, and I'll pass it around in a little bit so everybody can get a chance to see it. The email address that it came from was FDIC David Richards at AOL.com. Okay, that's one of the key flags that you'll be able to spot if you're just careful and you just scan and see who sent it to you. Okay, you'll be able to see that it's not legitimate. We talked about the grammar errors. There's several on here that, what governmental agency is going to send you an email with a bunch of grammar errors on it, and it's easy to spot. You can tell the people from other countries that don't have, the English as a first language wrote it. So those are key things that you should do, is slow down, and when you suspect something already, it's like, wait a minute, let me check with somebody else. Call a family member, call friends, and see what they say. But if you in your gut feel that something's not right about this, generally it's listen to your gut. Hang up the phone, don't answer any more of their phone calls. And just because you were basically phished doesn't mean you became a victim, okay? We generally see tons and tons of people at the office or calls that say, hey, I want a police report, somebody's trying to scam me. It's not necessarily a crime until it's committed. So just be careful, and if you do fall, which I hope none of you do, we're always there to help. But I will start by passing this around if you guys just want to take a look at it. I highlighted in pink the grammatical errors on it and the email address at the top, and it's in very, very small writing at the bottom. Basically, they threatened her with this email saying that if you don't participate in the investigation, basically you'll be subpoenaed to go to court and other things. So this lady thought it was a legit email coming from the FBI, FDIC. So she sent over those $25,000 as a test. A few days later, they called her again. This time they gave a different name, but it was also an FDIC agent. The FDIC agent basically said, hey, we still need your cooperation. We need you to do another test, another $25,000. She went ahead and did the same transfer, the test transfer for $25,000. So she didn't suspect anything, but something told her that it wasn't right. So she went and checked her bank statements and indeed saw that there was $50,000 had been transferred and removed from her bank account. Well, at that point, it's a little too late. 9 times out of 10, this sort of criminal activity is coming from across the pond, somewhere in, like I said, Africa, Vietnam, India, Russia, China even. In this case, I told her, I said, hey, look, these sorts of investigations take a long time. When you have a lot of electronic information to go through, you have to subpoena banks, you have to subpoena for records from a multitude of places. And to get those records back sometimes takes a lot of time. So I warned her, I said, this is gonna take some time, and I'm not gonna guarantee that I'll be able to get your money back, because 9 times out of 10, it ends up overseas. And she was okay with it, and she felt terrible about, being a victim. And she's not alone. A lot of people have fallen to this. I mean, to the tune of millions of dollars just in the state of Tennessee in the last couple of years. Yes.
I've been getting an email from unclaimed money out there. It just comes through an email or a text. I haven't opened one. I haven't opened it, and I just delete it and go on with it.
Don't open it.
Yeah, because I'm afraid if I open it, they'll get into my account.
Yeah, and so I'm going to talk about that as well. So where I left off was essentially these sorts of scams. Yeah, I'll take it.
Just let them answer questions like that. Just turn off your mic.
So essentially, these sorts of scams are very, very sophisticated. What you'll end up seeing is, you know what I'll do? I'll just turn this one off and use this one. Yeah, so these sorts of scams are very, very sophisticated. And I wasn't expecting to do anything for her in terms of like getting her money back, and she understood that. In the end, after all the subpoenas, this started in February, I just recently got all the information that I needed from the banks, including video of the people that actually took her money. So it all led to South or Central Florida. A group of people from Florida is now sending everybody out across the Southeast. Middle Tennessee, including Nashville and a couple of other cities surrounding Nashville, started a task force because they had 13 individual scams that targeted elderly people with the same exact FDIC slash FBI, we need you. But in those cases, they actually had people take cash or gold, put it in a package, and get picked up by a courier at their home or some other place. Okay. Yep, and I'm going to talk about another one exactly like that in a second. So what ended up being is this big criminal organization in Central Florida. It's homegrown, but it's so sophisticated because they make the phone calls first, and so they're using a call center somewhere. And they're working with somebody somewhere. We have no idea where it is at this point. Well, actually, Lenoir City doesn't. Maybe the FBI does because the task force is pretty big. But they not only do it and request money physically, but now in my case, it was basically doing wire transfers. The same exact MO, just instead of physically, they had her go and do a wire transfer. So at this point, I'm very, very close to solving it, and I have one suspect 100% identified, but that still doesn't mean that I'll get her money back. I can put him in jail, and he can rot in jail, which nowadays probably won't happen. More than likely, he'll get a year or two probation and then restitution for $50,000. Where a person doesn't have the $50,000, you're not going to see your money. So the best thing we can do is just to disseminate the information to everybody so everybody's aware of what to look for and not fall for it. Okay, and Lenoir City Police Department has a Facebook page, and every so often we put out messages about scams and what to do. But I understand not everybody has Facebook, and so the purpose of this gathering today is to just give you some of that information so that you know exactly what to look for. Okay, and then back to that question back there. If you voluntarily give money, even though you have a feeling that it's a scam, somebody tells you that it's a scam, but you continuously send money because you believe that it's true, then there's nothing we can do. I have another case, a gentleman who's fallen 3 times, and each one of those times his wife told him it's a scam, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and he did it anyway. It's been going on for 3 years, and the last time he came to me and said, hey, what can we do? I said, sir, his son is actually a police officer in South Carolina, and said, hey, just go report it, but they're not going to be able to do anything. And he was 100% right. You know, when you volunteer your information, your banking records, for things that you believe are true, but you've been told that they're scams, and you continuously do it anyway, it's your money. You decide to do what you want with that money, and it's voluntary. So unfortunately, I told him, I said, there's nothing we can do in that case. I've had 2 of those. One of them was $250,000, and she did it again and again and again. We went to her house several times in the past and warned her about it and said this is a scam. In that case, it was a the romance scam. Yeah, it was a romance scam. Her daughter was involved in a romance scam, convinced her that whoever she was dating, Kevin Costner, I can't remember who it was, told her that, you know, you won the lottery, and we need some money to pay the taxes, and so just start sending money. And he kept sending her pictures, AI pictures of Kevin Costner, you know, holding up signs, I love you, or with her name on it. And so makes her believe that it's Kevin Costner. She conned her mom into sending money, and now they're down $250,000. Her late husband's inheritance to her is gone. And so, you know, this kind of, it's tragic, but it's definitely avoidable if, like I said, if you recognize the flags. The other one, the sweepstakes and lottery, that's the one I just talked about. Essentially, it's the same thing. They will convince you that you won the lottery. They send you stuff via email or mail, and they wrap you. And they're professionals. They're salespeople. They know how to talk to people and get you so wrapped up in information that before you know it, you're doing exactly as they want. Okay, and before you know it, you've already sent money, you know, 10 times, and you haven't received a single check yet. Sometimes they'll ask for gift cards. That's a big telltale flag. Okay, if they ask for money in gift cards, they'll have you go get Apple gift cards is the most common one. They'll have you scratch off the numbers on the back to reveal the numbers, and then you give them the series of numbers. They cash out in China, and it's not traceable. So there's nobody we can go after. Even if we could go after them, they're in China or, you know, in countries where we basically can't reach them, and they know that. So the other one is a grandparent scam. They'll call you pretending to be a granddaughter, grandson, child who's in trouble and needs to be bailed out or needs money for something, and they'll have you, you know, say, hey, you know, and they can change their voice with AI now. There's applications where literally, as I'm speaking, can sound like the person that you know. Think about that. So it's gotten so sophisticated now that it's so hard to tell. A lot of people have safe words with their family members. You know, hey, give me the password or a safe word. And if they don't know it, well, now you know that it's not them. Okay, and I don't mean to scare anybody or to say this, you know, this kind of stuff doesn't happen. It happens. You may not hear about it much, but it does. The other one is the charity frauds. Basically fraudulent donation requests, the same type of thing, you know, something that you're interested in. They research you beforehand. If you're interested in something, they'll ask for money, and they'll collect over and over. The funeral cemetery scams, basically overpriced funeral services. They'll scam people that way. Online shopping scams, basically fake product sales. You think you're buying something, great deal, and nothing ever arrives, and you paid for it already. Yes?
One of the things that I've been getting is that I've been caught speeding, which I would never do. And so it texts me that I've been caught and I need
Yeah, the speeder scam, you get text messages, essentially from, it says that, you have unpaid parking tickets or unpaid tickets or unpaid tickets in toll lanes or whatever. There's no toll lanes here. No governmental agency is going to contact you via text message, email, or phone call, right? If there's like an outstanding warrant or you have tickets that are unpaid, they'll catch you and make you pay them eventually, right? They'll send an officer to your house and take you to jail and pay it that way, right? They're not going to contact you via text message. They're not going to be that nice. Yes.
Is there a way to tell on a website that it's not legit?
I would stay away from anything other than like Amazon, Walmart, or places that you trust where you've already established. I stay away from Temu. That's in China, so yeah. So just go to the legitimate places that you know. If the deal seems like it's too good to be true, generally it's not that great of a deal because you'll end up losing money. Those are the things, they know that. That's one of their phishing techniques is like, oh, I'm going to get somebody by advertising something well below market value, and you won't get anything in the mail. I had another scam. The auto sales scam is very common. If anybody likes cars, I had a guy who thought he was getting a great deal on I think it was like a 63 Impala, and they had him wire some $500 down payment, or $1,000 down payment, and he found the ad in Craigslist. It was an awesome deal, and basically never happened. He went to the bank to meet him, to have, pull out the rest of the cash and give it to him. He had already sent them the money, the down payment on it. It was only $1,000, it wasn't $250, but, he was out $1,000 that he could have used for something else. The technical support scams, those are generally from India. Those are the people that will call you and say, hey, your computer has a virus, and we're offering a sale on, we'll clean up your computer, and they'll send you stuff so that you could see it you can open it up on your email, and it says, yeah, sure enough, looks like I do have a virus. They'll direct you where to go because they know computers in and out. So they'll direct you where to go, what buttons to push, and all of a sudden you'll see something like your computer's infected with viruses and you need to clear it, and they will take care of it for you. And what they'll do, you will basically grant them remote access to your computer from wherever they are in India or whatever, and they'll be able to download all your passwords. They'll be able to download everything that's on your computer and then use it later against you one way or another. So the other one's the romance scam. Those are huge. And I really, really do feel bad for people that fall to this one. Generally, they target elderly, either widowed, widowers, people that are lonely, that need some companionship, and they find it with a random person online just by chatting up, starting a conversation, which leads to a year or so of conversing on a regular basis, which by that point you feel like you actually know the person, and it's actually maybe a guy talking to a guy from Nigeria. Because they don't ever use phone calls, it's always chat on the phone. You never get to see them, or if you want a picture, they'll send you a picture, but it's obviously somebody that you can pick out from a photo from the internet. If you do a reverse search for the image, you'll be able to see exactly, oh, that's a completely different person that I thought who would be. There's a very good documentary on Hulu right now. I can't remember the name of it right now, but essentially it breaks down the romance scams, how they are, and how easy it is for people to just fall for this one person who they believe they have a lot in common, and before you know it, they're sending them money because I'm in need, I'm in trouble. The common one that's seen very often is a guy who's from Norway that befriends a lonely elderly woman and will basically say, I need money because the oil rig that I'm working on, it's my business, and it blew up, and now I have all these employees that are injured, and my payroll's been cut because of this, and now I need $50,000 just to make my payroll. Can you help me? And he's been talking to her for a year, And so she trusts them. And so she sends money and they disappear. Poof. So those are romance scams. And so the red flags for those is people will send you a message out of nowhere. Hi, I saw your profile. You seem to have the same interests that I do. And you start a conversation, and from there it just proceeds for a year or more before they actually strike. The investment scams, basically, if it's too good to be true, it's not true. Fake returns. They will entice you with all these wonderful numbers. Basically, invest in Bitcoin is a big one. Send me your money. I will, double it, triple it, quadruple it in 3 months. Here's some of the numbers that we've done for other people. If you don't believe me, they send you all these wonderful numbers and, it makes a believer out of anybody. Well, they'll take your money and they'll invest it for themselves, but you never see a dime. And those are incredibly hard to track because once you're talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, it's basically electronic money. It's so hard to track. It's not impossible, and I've done it before, but it's very, very difficult because they move it from different accounts in small increments. And now what you started with one cryptocurrency account, it may end up in 20 divided. And so now you have to track each one and see where the money leads in the end, and that's your guy. And 9 times out of 10, it leads to Nigeria. So cryptocurrency is one of those things that's very, very dangerous for the elderly. They will use any of the scams that we've already talked about, but instead of paying via cash or wire transfers or anything like that, gift cards, they'll ask you to go and deposit it and transfer it to cryptocurrency, basically electronic money. There was a number of ATM machines in Lenoir City that accept cash and transfer it to cryptocurrency. Well, as of July 1st, the state of Tennessee has passed a law that says no more. We can't have these ATM machines anywhere. And so it's now a misdemeanor offense to have those ATMs that transfer cash money, or you insert your bank card and transfer it to cryptocurrency. So those are all going to be gone here pretty soon in the state of Tennessee because it was such a big problem for the elderly community. Let's see, the healthcare fraud, Medicare. That's a big one. We've already talked about it, and so I'll just briefly touch on it. They call you, wanting to get you to get Part B or whatever it is that they want, but the flags are all there. They give you something that you're interested in, they get you super interested in it, and now, you got your wheels turning, and it's like, I could save some money, or I can, it can help me out one way or another, and basically they'll rip you off. You'll start sending money, and you think that your application's going somewhere, and it's gone. Home repair scams, same deal. Somebody will call you, and they may watch the news and saw that a storm came through, and there's a bunch of trees down, and they'll just target people, call. They'll find 1 out of 100 that was willing to get a tree that fell or the roof replaced or whatever, and they'll ask you for deposits. They'll send you contracts. They'll send you all these things that appear to be legitimate but are not. And once you send your money, it's gone. The phishing scams, those are basically deceptive information requests. Phishing, everybody's gotten those emails where, click here if you want something that's interesting to you. You click on it, it takes you to another pop-up. And from those pop-ups, if you don't have adequate virus protection on your computer or your phones, once you click on it, essentially you're allowing them to install malware or malicious software on your device, and basically they can scour your entire device for passwords to your banks and to anything where you have money, and then drain it. I'll take a question back here.
Surveys pop up on your television screen that says, how many of these things have you heard of? And you click down on those and you submit your answer. Is that the same kind of thing?
Not generally. The surveys are referring to Amazon or?
No, they just 4 or 5 listed, and you click down the ones and you submit your answer. I mean, can they tell who you are by that? From the television set?
I'm going to say yes. The reason being, TVs, cell phones, home routers, all kinds of electronic equipment nowadays, they all send data back to whoever it is that's mining that data. So in this day and age, basically the currency for all the companies out there that are trying to make money is data. Is where you shop, what you watch, what clothes you wear, what time you go to sleep, what do you eat, anything. Because now they can target you as a consumer. Okay? And by that, I mean is TVs nowadays, some of them have cameras on them. I don't know if you guys knew that, but some TVs have cameras. Your phone has a microphone, has a camera, and a lot of applications that you download, you just accept. You don't even know what you're agreeing to. And some of them basically say, will allow us permission to turn on your microphone without you even knowing, because you agreed to it. And later on, it's like, well, I didn't agree to that. Well, you did when you clicked yes, I want to download it. So essentially, that's how data is mined. Back in the day, it was surveys, paper surveys, people filling out paper surveys. But nowadays, data is everything, and that's how companies make their money. So that's probably more than likely just a survey, just to get more information from you. But I still wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't even fill them out. I mean, let them figure it out, right? Yeah.
Does declining cookies protect you in any way from this data mining threat?
Declining cookies, yes, because cookies track everything. Cookies, I don't know if you guys know what they are, but it essentially is it's a way to track where you go on the internet, and then they can send you ads targeted to wherever you're visiting. So it can preserve your anonymity if you just decline them. Some of them don't have the option to decline. Some of them do, and say, no, I don't want to be tracked. But you can also set those things on your phone to decline all cookies, and the caveat to that is maybe the website won't work as well.
How about now, your cell phone has your wallet where it keeps all your credit cards, and there's this Venmo and Zelle and PayPal and all these electronic ways of paying. How much of that puts you in danger, or how much should you allow on your phone or on your computer? I tried my computer not to save my credit card, and then I see it saved it all. I don't know how to get that out. So, what do you do with that?
So it's super difficult because every single application has a different way of either not allowing your stuff to save. Every phone is different. Every computer is different. And now finding that one piece of information that you want to turn off becomes a task in itself, right? But there is ways of doing it. And my best way to do it is I always just turn to AI now. Go to your phone and go to AI and just say, hey, how do I turn this off on this device? And it'll give you a list of things how to do it. I would think yes, to a certain degree. I try not to store anything on my phone. If I do store passwords, I have a ton of passwords in this day and age. We all use passwords for everything. And I have 1 million passwords for work and 1 million passwords for home. So I store them. But I have an application that's built into the phone. It's an iPhone where you can store your passwords, and it's two-factor authentication. What that is basically you can either have your face as one of the methods, and then a passkey or a password for the passwords in order to get in. And your phone will recognize that it's you. And if not, it won't allow access to anybody else, even if it is, somebody who's infiltrated the system. It's encrypted and it's harder to crack. Not impossible, but it's harder. And I don't do any of the electronic wallets, none of that. If I'm going to pay for something, it's going to be, I never use debit cards anywhere I go. It's always credit cards. And just pay the credit card back, because that way, if you want to dispute something, it's not your money, it's the credit card's money, and they'll generally honor it. So let's see. Yes.
My credit card, I never lost possession of it, scammed. And they, within 20 minutes, had spent a couple $1,000s at Walmart. And when I called the bank, and the bank fraud department said they could scan it through my purse, and they said, you need to get one of these metal. I had one. And they said, well, it must have been just in the moment that I might have taken it out and used it. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to protect them, right?
So yes and no. Credit card numbers, believe it or not, they're floating out there in the ether somewhere. Your credit card number is floating somewhere. If you've gone and shopped somewhere and you've entered it, there's sometimes employees that are not that honest. They'll write that credit card number down and then go to websites and use that credit card number. Okay, so another way they could get your credit card information is if you go to stores and you put your credit card in to pay, they have credit card skimmers, where basically it reads every single credit card number that goes through that skimmer, and then later on they go back and they take that skimmer off and they download all the data from it, and then they can go to any store and get Panera Bread or any of these gift cards that have this strip on it, and basically load that credit card, that fake Panera Bread credit card, with your credit card information, your credit card number, and then they go and use it as if it was a real credit card. So that's a big issue. So we've seen some of those cases in Lenoir City where they've placed them at gas stations, at the gas pumps, and people just put their credit, they don't know. I mean, it looks like it overlays on top of the existing numbers, and so you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah, yeah. You have no idea. You have no idea. The tap to pay is, I think, might be a little bit better option. If your credit card has the tap symbol on it, you could just tap it, and if it works on the receiving end, instead of putting it in there, just tap it. That's a bit safer. But those are multiple ways that they can get your credit card information. And like I said, using credit card is 1,000 times better than using debit, because you're protected by the credit card company if fraud does occur. Yes?
You made a small mention of something that I do a lot. If I get an email or get something and I think it might be a scam, you could Google that and see if other people have had an experience with that or reported it, and that's very helpful. I actually had an example today from the IRS News Bulletin's text message survey invitation. It came from irs@service.govdelivery.com. Now that's suspicious, but it turns out, I did some Googling, this is legit. The government pays a private company to send crappy emails and surveys and junk out for them now. Now, the flip side is this is often scammed as well. That's what's often. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm dying. I'm dying here.
What I want you guys to take away from this is even if it is a legitimate thing, don't do it. Especially if it's a survey, right? I mean, if they want information, let them pay their hard-earned money to go get it, instead of, working you to send them, what your likes and dislikes are, right? Let them figure it out. And so data is the biggest currency right now. So yeah, don't fall for that one at all. Okay.
Talking about antivirus software, I'd be interested to know how many folks here today have active antivirus software on their computers, and then do most of you know what a VPN is?
So he asked about antivirus software, if most of you here have antivirus software on your computers, and if anybody or of you guys familiar with what a VPN is. Raise hands if you guys do or don't. Okay, so I'll explain a little bit. So it's super important to keep any of your devices up to date with antivirus software, and most of them nowadays come integrated, especially if they're like Microsoft, Apple. Apple isn't too big of a problem. Apple already has a lot of, since they're not open to everybody to produce software for them, it's just them. They don't really have the problem, but it's more like Microsoft based computers that need the antivirus software. And if it's not up to date, then it basically leaves you not protected enough to new viruses that or phishing viruses that could be installed by you clicking on a pop-up that you may be interested in. These pop-ups come up and it's like, oh, that's something that I may be in, let me click on it. Well, now you've allowed them to install all this stuff in there, and that's how, you know, the gateway opens to all the data that's in your computer. Now, VPNs, this gentleman over here first mentioned about getting phone calls from one place and another place and another place that appeared to be local, okay? VPNs is a way to basically like a ventriloquist where you throw your voice and you don't know where it's coming from. It's the same thing, but only on a computer. So every computer, yours, mine, everybody's here, your internet service provider has an address to every single house that it provides service to. And it's unique to your address. And so that is called an IP address. A VPN, if you buy or pay a service for a VPN, you can basically mimic another address. Okay, so what these guys will do is basically use VPNs to protect themselves from people like us that are trying to look for where did this come from. It's like a ventriloquist throwing its voice somewhere else, and it throws us off. So that's what a VPN is. Basically, it's creating a fictitious IP address so they can use it and hide their real identity of where they are geographically. Okay, so those are ways that they use to get around the law.
I guess I thought of a VPN. I use a VPN if I'm just searching the web. If I have my favorite.
To protect yourself.
I'm sorry?
To protect yourself.
Yeah. To protect myself.
Yeah.
Yes. So they don't know, they can't really track who it is that went to Walmart to search for that whatever product.
Yeah, and he made a very good point. You can also use VPNs to protect yourself. If you're trying to protect your anonymity, and it's 100% legal, you can get a VPN, pay $30, $40 a year, and surf the internet using a VPN, now hiding your identity of where you are geographically, and it'll stop, you know, some of the people that are targeting you, because you can set it to be in, you know, in South America if you want. And so they'll send you stuff that's pertinent to South America, but not pertinent to you. Okay? So we do have, like 5 minutes left? Basically, what I wanted you guys to take away from this whole thing is guard your personal information. Do not share any personal information, especially online. Scammers will try to exploit personal details to entice victims to share financial information. Monitor your communication. Do not respond to random messages from unknown phone numbers or emails or phone calls. If you didn't solicit it, don't respond. Scammers may use unsolicited messages, wrong numbers, or advertisements for fake investment to initiate a conversation. What I mentioned earlier about slowing down, definitely use caution online, especially if someone gives unsolicited advice or asks them for money. So if somebody's soliciting something from you, slow down and think about it. Does this feel right? And if it's not, doesn't feel right, hang up, end the conversation, call somebody. Don't proceed with anything, especially if they're asking for money or giving you some kind of an ultimatum to make it seem like it's a sense of urgency, like you need to do it now, or you'll miss out on this opportunity, or you'll be taken to jail, or your relative won't get out of jail, or whatever it is. They'll use it against you. So scammers may request an immediate payment through gift cards, cryptocurrency, or wire transfers. Verify is very important. Always verify details before making any payments. Scammers may prey upon a victim's emotions during a phone call or use AI to clone the voice of someone that the victim knows and then claim to be in an emergency. So sometimes when you get phone calls, I've gotten these before where you're like, hello, 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 and nobody answers. That could be somebody recording your voice and then using it later on. Because it's so easy nowadays, you can, with AI, you can have any actor voice something else, a TV show, without the actor ever setting foot on studio, just because they have, samples of the voice. And use caution. Never share personal financial information online, especially with somebody that you've never met, right? Cease all communication. If someone asks to transfer money or provide identifying documents like IDs, passport, or banking information, you immediately hang up. Once those questions start coming up, huge red flag. You should never have to confirm your information with anybody that's calling you to solicit something. You should never have to do that, and don't do it. If you're calling your bank, if you're calling somewhere where you initiated the contact of an institution that you belong to, banking institution, memberships, whatever, and they want to confirm your information to see if it's you, that's a little different. But if it's somebody soliciting something from you, never, ever, ever volunteer your personal identifying information, okay? And then what to know if you're a victim. Report elder abuse scams, fraud scams to your local law enforcement agency or the Federal Trade Commission and the Internet Crime Complaint Center. The United States Secret Service works closely with federal, state, and local and tribal law enforcement agencies to investigate elder fraud and other types of financial crimes. These websites you can just Google them and it'll pop up and you can just click it. If you ever do become a victim, which I hope none of you do, first step is to report it to us in Lenoir City. If you're within Lenoir City jurisdiction, you'll go to Lenoir City Police Department. If you're outside the city, but still Lenoir City, you'll go to the sheriff's office to route those kinds of reports. And we'll investigate it as far as we can until we get to a dead end and realize that it's in Nigeria and we can't do anything about it. But in the case that I'm working now, fortunately, I do have a suspect. Probably won't be able to get the lady's money back, but it's homegrown out of Florida, and so they're moving quick. These people are learning fast, and they see that those guys overseas are making a lot of money, and they want to make just as much money, and they do. I mean, to the tune of billions of dollars a year in America. So, any other questions? Mm-hmm.
If you're watching TV, does your TV hear what you're talking about and then somehow transfer the next day something about it on your phone?
So TVs nowadays, the smart TVs, if they have a microphone on it and you activate that feature, they do listen all the time. And companies that are Chinese made basically put their software in the TVs because it's data mining. They want to listen to exactly what you're talking about a product, about going here, about going there, because data is everything, right? Now they know they have raw numbers to be able to make more money, to provide services for people that, provide the exact service or thing that those people are talking about, right? So data is everything. Your phone listens. If you have Siri on your phone, it listens all the time if you leave it on. And so, case in point, if you just say, hey Siri, some of your guys' phones might wake up right now. And so it's always listening. Everything's always listening. Amazon Alexa is always listening, right? I used to have one, and when I found out about what it does, I got rid of it. Like, I don't need a robot to tell me what time it is, right? I can just look at my watch and I can figure that out. I don't need it to tell me the weather. I don't need it to tell me any of this stuff. I don't need it to tell me, play some music. I can do that myself. So, in essence, what I want you guys all to take away from this is that the red flags are essentially, if it doesn't feel right in here, it's probably not going to be something that's favorable for you in the end, okay? If they call you, one last time, if they call you and give you a sense of urgency to do something for something in return that seems like too good to be true, or that they want to entice you to do something so that you don't end up in trouble, that's a big one. They scare you. So that, fear is a big motivator for people. It gets you doing whatever it is that they want, and they talk so fast, and they're so good at what they do because they do it all day. They just call people all day, that they're really good at what they do. And so with that, be careful, everybody. And if you ever have a need, you can always reach out to us at Lenoir City Police Department, and we'll help you out any way we can. Okay?
Change your passwords.
100%. Change your passwords on a regular basis. That's a huge one. Okay? It's a chore. I get it, but better do it. Once every couple of months is okay with me, but as often as you can.
I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and let's thank Ernie for taking time out of his evening to spend with us, and thank you for all that good information, which I hope we can remember it all. So it is.
And there's plenty more.
Well, thank you again so much. You all watch for the announcements and stuff for our next gathering in August, and we're looking forward to that. So thank you all for coming, and be safe driving home.
Give up on you, love.